Well, I don't know if that worked, and it certainly wasn't long enough. But I thought I'd give the old theme a try, and we'll work on that and see if I can make the sound quality worthwhile. That, of course, is from the Pirates of the Caribbean, the worst pirate I've ever seen, and I think it's one of the greatest pieces of music I've ever heard. I love it, and I really miss playing it for you. So when somebody's referring to me air drumming, that's what I'm drumming to. Not that it happens all the time. Okay, welcome to From My Kitchen Table. I just thought it was a good time to get back in touch with you guys. There's been a lot happen in the last little while. I have my handy-dandy pipe, keep me centered, my cup of tea. The fire going in the background. It's nice and cozy here in the kitchen. I thought I had a dog sleeping around here somewhere. Oh well, Willie's out chasing parked cars, I guess. I've run into a few people, speaking of that, I make a living out of chasing parked cars. Some of them right here on Facebook. And before I get into the different topics, I've got about 3 or 4 topics I want to discuss. Yes, Stephanie, we'll get into Tanya. Don't worry, she's on my list. Now, when I'm talking about people who chase parked cars, you know what I mean, right? You ever ask yourself, a dog that's chasing a car, if he ever caught it, what would he do with it? Well, there's a lot of people out there who actually act like they've caught the car and have no idea what to do with it. And I'm having a little fun with a couple of guys on Facebook right now that we've been having this ongoing debate. And a lot of it centers around personal responsibility. One guy's been out of work for 5 years. He's living on government grants. He's an artist by trade, a writer, and so on. And I've been trying to tell him, get off your butt, get out the door, and go do something else. If you can't find work in your field, what you really want to do, like if I had my way, I'd still be on radio. I love radio. But you know what? The tides of fortune went against me, and my time in radio, in a terrestrial radio setting, appear at least for now to be over. So this is the next best thing. But there's other things. My life didn't come to a crashing halt just because my work situation changed. Because men identify, I think, in general, in what they do for a living. And when that's taken away from them, it hurts. It's like having your leg broke. It takes a while to heal. This guy has never gotten over losing that whatever job he had before. And for some reason, expects you and I to pay for it. And it's enough to drive me crazy. Yes, Randy, I know. I am, you know what? I am too patient. But you know something? Patience is a virtue. And I'm not infinitely endowed with it. I do hit a wall sooner or later. And I just, he's talking about why I put up with these guys on Facebook. Partly, like when I'm talking to this particular individual, I'm not only talking to him, anybody else who reads the thread, if they were in similar situations, the idea of going out and his comment, so you want everybody who's unemployed in Toronto to go move someplace else. Yes, if that's what it takes to find work, absolutely. We've only done that in this country about 100 billion times. There used to be trains full of people during the 30s traveling across the country looking for work. People have come to Canada from all over the world, leaving everything behind to start a new life. So why should somebody living in Toronto live out of your wallet? Little rant on my part, but just this, the gentleman in question here is a hardcore communist. He sees no value in, unless he's doing the job he feels he was ordained to do, then everything else is beneath him. His talent is wasted on manual labor. Yeah, tell yourself that when you're out on the 401 with a flat and all you've got is a jack and a wrench and a spare. And then you don't have CAA and you're out there in the pouring rain and there's nobody stopping. Who's going to change that tire? Is manual labor really below you? Because let's face it, everybody wants to do their dream job, right? Who wouldn't? That's just human nature. But when that's not possible, you have to adapt. All right, so let me dive into some of these other things. Last night, I got a chance to catch up with, and I'm sure you've all seen the debate by now. And if you haven't, go and watch it. Okay, there's in that debate, there's 4 candidates. There's Caroline Mulroney. You had Christine Elliott, Doug Ford. I keep wanting to say Rob, Doug Ford, and you had Tanya Allen. Excuse me. Now, during that debate, something bothered me about a lot of the approaches, and I wasn't, because I'm not the brightest candle in the chandelier, but something was wrong, and it took me a little while to identify it. Tanya was the only one who came up with any kind of plan at all. She laid it out very plainly about what she would do about one particular plank in her platform, and that's getting rid of the sex ed curriculum. Okay? So that at least she was specific about that. The other thing she was specific about is the fate of Patrick Brown. If she were the leader, would he be allowed to run as a PC candidate? And her answer was, are we having this conversation? Are you serious? He's the one that caused this mess in the first place, and you think I would let him back in? She's the only one who said flat out no. All the others were saying, well, if it clears up the allegations, yeah, okay, he could run again. That might be, from a legalistic point of view, the right answer, but it's the wrong answer when you're trying to build a party based on principle, okay, based on merit, based on all the things that matter to people like you and I. So I really applauded her for that. Now, I got a chance to while I was turning that all over in my mind, last night there was a meet and greet, and I apologize for not putting it up faster. Okay, it was a little bit, I wasn't quite sure where it was going to be, so I didn't want to announce anything until I knew all the details. And by the time I found that out, it was almost time for the event. And given the whirlwind that this leadership campaign is, I wasn't surprised at that. It's not like we've had months to get this put together. These guys are trying to cram 6-8 weeks into a couple. All right. And instead of putting it together infrastructure that takes months to do, teams on the ground, all this kind of stuff, fundraising apparatus, all that stuff, they've got to do it all in 10 days, 2 weeks. So a whirlwind where you just, boom, wherever you find a spot, boom, 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 you meet as many people as you can. That's understandable. And that's true for all the candidates, not just Tanya. So last night at the Fox and Feather, which is a great little pub, by the way, they have really good hors d'oeuvres in there, snack foods and things like that, like chicken wings and things of that nature. And it's a very comfortable place. I really enjoyed my time there. And there's a lot of really nice bars on Elgin Street where this event was, where you can go and spend an evening if you want to, have a pint after work or something like that. Then it's a great place to go. So my little plug for them. But the point is that we got a chance to get up close and personal with Tanya. And she stood there for as long as it took and took question after question. She had a little speech prepared, of course, a little 5 or 10 minute thing. She was interviewed by a news agency out of Cornwall called Your TV. And once that was over, everybody got a chance. For all those who wanted to talk to her, they could. And then I went in the back and I set up my laptop and I was trying to do a Facebook Live event to have her live on Facebook so that we could have a conversation and you could watch the exchange. Well, technical things like the bandwidth at the pub was not fast enough to do live Facebook Live. So what I did do was I recorded an audio version. And as soon as I can figure out the technical side of this, I will post it. It's about 15 minutes long max. It's a great interview. Now, there's some background noise. It's a little bit distracting at first. It's not too bad. We tried to find a quiet corner in the bar, but it is a bar, so it's going to be kind of loud at 10 o'clock at night. So, but overall, I thought it was a very, very good interview. She answered all of my questions, very straightforward, and it was a lot of fun to listen to her. A lot of fun. It was refreshing to listen to somebody who has a different attitude about governance than what we're getting out of the other 4 candidates, because guess who's back in the race? If you didn't know by now, then you're not paying attention. But Patrick Brown is now a member of the leadership, part of that. He wants to be the leader again. He said, well, I built the party. I should be allowed to lead it. No, Patrick, that's not how this works. So there's a couple of questions. If I can move on to Patrick Brown. I want to discuss each candidate for a moment or two. I wrote a op-ed piece that I posted on Facebook this morning. There's been some interesting commenting on back and forth. But what we have here is, of the 5 candidates, we already know what Patrick Brown's like. He's another Kathleen Wynne in a blue tie. Okay, so That's one of the reasons I opposed him from the beginning, because I don't want any more progressivism. And he's nothing but progressivism. He doesn't want any SOCONs. He doesn't want any other worldview but his. That's it. Game over, period, no matter what the grassroots want. So I opposed him because of that. And it had nothing to do with the sexual allegations leveled against him. I thought that was disgusting. That's not the way you do things. You don't go around making allegations with no evidence or no, this whole Me Too thing has gotten out of hand. And I thought the way he was treated in that regard was absolutely disgusting. And it's not only him, but other people. Now, what he should have done was taken a page out of Steve Paikin's book on how to deal with it. He didn't do that. And he did resign. No matter what he says, he did resign. He stood in front of those cameras at 1 o'clock in the morning and said, that's it, I'm done, I resign. So you can't just, well, I didn't really resign. No, you resigned, and then you got booted out of the caucus. So anyway, so Patrick Brown, we know all about. Caroline Mulroney is a very attractive and very, seems to be very pleasant, congenial kind of person. She's a mother of 4, I think. And is well known because of her pedigree. Her father, of course, was Brian Mulroney, former Prime Minister of Canada. So she comes almost steeped in the tea of politics from birth. But she is also a progressive. During the original debate, she never said anything to distance herself from the kinds of programs that Kathleen Wynne already has in place. All she wants to do is back off the throttle, okay, and do these things more efficiently. We'll find savings. We'll do this. We'll do that. They all agreed carbon tax was out of the question. Okay, one way or another, they were going to deal with carbon tax. Okay, so on that point, they had something they had something in common. Okay, but Caroline struck me as a woman, or Carolyn, depending on where you're from, on how you say it, I suppose. Struck me as just another Patrick Brown in a pantsuit. It just there's no difference between what she just wants to water down the progressive or the liberal agenda. Well, that's like driving towards a cliff with a 1,000-foot drop off at 80 miles an hour. And you say, oh, I know how to fix this, and just back the car down to 60 miles an hour. You still end up going over the cliff. It just takes you a few moments longer to get there. Now, so when you switch over to Christine Elliott, first, she's been rejected by the voters, by the grassroots of the organization twice. She's trying the third time. Maybe she thinks third time's the charm. But not only is she the only one who said we're not going to revisit the sex ed curriculum, she is the only one on that panel who actually voted to strip parents of their rights when it comes to teaching sexual morality to the children. Okay, she voted with the Wynne government. I think the bill number was Bill 66. I'm going by memory. Tanya challenged her on that. And it was about one of the highlight, for me at least, of the debate. Excuse me a second here. So anyway, the point is, we know what Christine Elliott's all about. She's another progressive. She's a red Tory. Now you get to Doug Ford. Now, Doug Ford is definitely a fiscal conservative. But even in his case, now he wants to do a line-by-line audit. He wants to find the savings. But nowhere in anything he said has he ever said, we are going to break the philosophy or going to break away from the ideology that's causing this problem in the first place. Because organizations, whether they be big or small, have a guiding set of principles or philosophy. In the case of the liberals, it's socialism, or what I call now progressivism. Okay? The PC party, the candidates, with the exception of one, are willing to continue down that track. They see there doesn't seem to be any mindset about saying, look, not only do we have to stop, slow this thing down, we have to turn the wheel and turn away from the things that are causing the problems. It's not enough to say we're going to cancel the Green Energy Act, because that then begs the question, how are you going to do that? Rob's got no answers to that. He just said we're going to scrap it. Well, you know something? That piece of legislation was written by the devil himself, and guess where the devil lives? In the details. So how are you going to scrap it? There's probably ways to do it, but so far, and I get the short campaign, I understand that, but there's been nothing out of his camp about how he's going to scrap the Green Energy Act. What's it going to cost us? I don't mind scrapping it. I want to scrap it, but I want to know how. No answer. Okay. I haven't heard nothing about how he intends to heal the internal rift in the party between the right wing and the centrists or the red Tories. How is he keeps saying, I want to bring these people together. I want to work together. Okay, fine. But how? Again, I want specifics. Okay, so these four candidates, Brown, Elliott, Mulroney, and Ford, are all cut in one way or another to certain degrees. Doug, the least of the bunch, and probably Christine on the far end, on the other end of things, but they're all cut from that progressive cloth because nobody's ever said the problem is progressivism. We have to stop going down that road. Guess who the only one is that does? Tanya Allen. Now, I don't endorse candidates. I learned my lesson with Terry Kilray years ago. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. People have different opinions than mine, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But remember, it's progressivism that got us in this mess, and it is progressivism that will kill us if we don't stop going down that road. And that means more than just being more efficient at doing it than the liberals are. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to talk about was on the federal side. This weekend up here in the Valley, we have a vote for those of you who live out in the rural ridings for the candidates to carry the banner into the next election for the federal Conservatives in the riding of Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. And that candidate, the incumbent here, is one of the few SoCons left in the federal party. Okay, Cheryl Gallant, my MP. Now, Mike Coates, who lives, depending on who you listen to, either in Calabogie or in Constantine Lake, has never voted in this riding, ever. We've checked the record, nothing there. He has not voted here. All of a sudden, he pops out of nowhere and wants to be the banner carrier. Now, like I've said before on this broadcast, I don't have a problem with the democratic process. Anybody can challenge anybody else. But isn't the goal to beat the used stock salesman and put an end to his reign? Look what he just did in India. He embarrassed the Canadian population again. The Prime Minister of India didn't even send him a greeting, never mind meet him at the airport, because he's ticked off with Trudeau for apparently snuggling up to Sikh terrorists. And the country of India said, screw that. We don't want nothing to do with you. So it was nothing but a paid vacation for Trudeau. Then he dresses up. Now, the Indian culture is very much alive with color. Okay, their culture is very rich and vibrant, from the food they eat to the clothes they wear. So when they tell you that we don't dress like that, you know you've gone over the top. And when you see the images of his family on vacation, all looking like third-rate tourists trying to act like they fit into a culture they know nothing about, there you go. That's our world leader. Okay, so that's the guy that we're trying to get rid of. So getting back to Mike Coates, you would think he would run in a riding where he actually can help the vote count if he should win. So go after Karen McCrimmon in Gord O'Connor's old riding, knock off a liberal so that when the dust is settled after the next election, the Conservatives would have Cheryl's seat plus one more. But he's not interested in that, which tells me he's not interested in in going after the larger enemy. He just wants to knock off another SoCon. That's my opinion. I've got nothing to back that up. That's when I sit here and look at that, that's what it looks like to me. Now, okay, we've talked about personal responsibility. I guess let me leave you with this, because I don't want to keep these too long. We are at a crossroads in our country. We are at where we are fighting on many levels for our identity, for real a healthy democratic process, and especially in Ontario, picking the right leader to win the PC leadership race is absolutely vital. Because whoever it is, everyone except for Patrick Brown, if he takes over, even if he wins, we lose. because of the way he handles the party. And I'm talking about the candidacies and the stuffing of ballot boxes. All that garbage has been going on under his leadership that he could have taken care of and didn't. And I loved his quote when he said, oh, well, he was talking about $315,000, or I think Randy Hillier made some kind of allegation about $700,000. Where is it? Because there's 70,000 fraudulent memberships. And Patrick Brown's response was, well, the leader doesn't handle money. But let me remind you of a movie called Bug's Life. It's a kid's movie. It's an animated thing like Pixar would put out. And the bad guy, Hopper, turns to the Queen Ant. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And he goes, when you're in charge, everything's your fault. And that's true. That's the best line in that whole movie. When you're in charge, everything's your fault. So Patrick Brown cannot pass the buck and say, oh, don't blame me, man. This is like Bill Clinton. Oh, what do I know, man? I don't know nothing. Hillary tells me what to do. I don't know nothing. Sorry. You want to wear the captain's hat and sit in the captain's chair? Then you got to live or die with what happens to the ship the captain commands. There is nobody else to turn to. As a president once said in the United States, the buck stops here. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. I hope you got something out of that. If you want to leave some comments, I'll get back to them and answer them. I see a lot of people saying hello and that kind of stuff. I'll post this to my YouTube channel. I'm also going to, as soon as I get the audio figured out for the Tanya interview, I'll put that up as well so you can listen to it. The debate is coming up on next Wednesday, so a week yesterday. Where it's going to be in Ottawa, I don't know where. Tomorrow night, there will be a chance to meet Tanya personally at the Three Brewers in Ottawa. Now, I'm going to try to be there. I thought I was going to be able to make it. I'm not sure. There's some dark clouds on the horizon that might keep me away. I certainly hope not, but I will do my best to be there. But whether I'm there or not, because I'm not the star of the show, go get a chance to see Tanya yourself, ask her any question you want, put her through the ringer, and if you like what comes out the other end, vote for her. If you don't, make her your second choice. Remember, it's a ranked ballot. You're not going to split the vote if you vote for one over the other. Okay, because those two, I'm thinking of Ford and Tanya, Doug and Tanya, are going to get votes that the other ones won't. And the other ones will get votes that these two won't. So you're not going to split the vote. Okay, so keep that in mind. Go and meet her. Shake her hand. Look her in the eye. I did all of that last night. And I walked out of there thinking, you know what? Whether she wins or not, she's the real deal. She's the first real conservative I've met in a very long time who actually means what she says and is willing to lay it all on the line. And that, for me, counts for a lot. I hope it counts for a lot for you too. We'll see you all again. Thanks for listening.